Kaboom! Hey folks, Ty here, Bench Squad Media. So intro to what Mike and I are about ready to talk about. We have a two-part video that we're going to share with you. We were triggered by a video that came out yesterday. Great video. Bishop with 10-03 card hustle, links in the show notes. Put out a video titled How Buying Sports Cards on Credit Almost Ruined Me. A personal story in winning and warning to card investors. And it was a very honest assessment and admittance to just mistakes he made in the hobby. And I think the reason we wanted to talk about it because it's something we've talked about for months, about being smart with your money and looking at the signs in the hobby, looking at the signs in the economy and not overextending yourself. And Bishop was a great example of why overextending yourself is a bad thing to do in the sports card world. Now, with that said, we end up talking about what this really is a sign of and how this is just the tip of an iceberg in the sports card hobby. And we break down why we think the next few months are absolutely critical in the hobby and how we think the National is going to be one of the more important events in the hobby for the next few years. And we explain why. And then in the second part, we talk about what we actually think that means. Like where do things pull back to? And where is the opportunity, if there is any, and what are the anomalies going to be, and all that stuff. So thanks for bearing with us. It's totally off the cuff. We didn't edit anything out, so it's typical Mike and I just talking about things. But we wanted to at least discuss it with you and let you put your comments in the comments below so we can get your feedback on where things stand. So right now you can hear a little baby in the background. My 2-year-old interrupts the video a couple times and is interrupting this video now. I apologize for that. So bear with us. Audio quality should be good though, but have a good time watching. Enjoy the conversation, and we'll catch you in the comments. Mike, how you doing, man?
Ty, I'm well. How are you doing?
We really got to get you to invest in a better camera because you just look like a blurry blob.
Really? It's not blurry on my end, and you're crystal clear. So,
no, maybe it's just me. Maybe when we actually throw this thing out there, it'll look good.
Hopefully, as long as you can hear.
You sound great as usual. That silky voice. So you and I, there was a video put out yesterday by a gentleman named Bishop, and I'm going to go and throw this up here real quick so you guys can see. I definitely recommend you go watch it. YouTube channel 10-03 Card Hustle, and you shared it with me. And we watched it together. We immediately thought, you know what, we got to respond to this because it aligns with a lot of things you and I have been saying. So maybe you can recap what the video is about, and I'll throw it up here so people can see what it looks like.
Yeah. So Bishop, and I only saw this because it was recommended to me on YouTube. I think it only has 400 or 500 views. It's not it hasn't been watched a lot, but there he is, Bishop. Super open and honest. If you read the title there, How Buying Sports Cards on Credit Almost Ruined Me. And he goes through, it's on what, 8-9 minutes long. It's not terribly long,
yeah. Yep.
But he does a great job breaking down and exposing what he did wrong, the mistakes he's made. He's a newer collector. He said he's only been in the hobby a little over a year. And I watched this and I immediately texted it to you. I'm like, dude, you've got to watch this. We've got to talk about this because of what we're seeing in the hobby. This story. Now, props to Bishop for having the wherewithal, the courage, so to speak, to get out there and put this out there. Hey, man, I was in trouble, and he's doing some things to remedy that for sure. So props to him for that too. But this is going to be, Ty, don't you think, an incredibly common thing that starts happening and manifesting itself over the next 6 to 12 months?
I do. Yeah. And so to summarize what he went through, and I've heard this story countless times from other people. He, about a year ago, got into the hobby, saw the hype, started buying things at, we all know, peak prices. And that ebbed and flowed the last 12 months, and peak prices for a lot of cards were within the last 6 months. but he started putting things on credit cards, and he would buy something, realize, oh shoot, I have to sell this at a loss. It wasn't going up anymore. Sold it. And then the mentality was, well, I better go buy something else to make up that loss. And he's put something else on the credit card. And before long, he's $4,000 in debt and with nothing to show for it. And he fell into that trap of buying peak prices, grading cards for second-year player cards, and all of the stuff that over the last year, the experts on YouTube and on the web, these self proclaimed card investors were telling you to do. And Bishop summarized exactly the trap that most people are falling into that are just entering the hobby, and it was a complete and utter hype train. And so he's recouping from that. And to your point, I think we're just seeing a glimpse of what's about to happen in the hobby.
Yeah. And let me tell you, man, the hype train is about to get derailed big time. I see the end. I can see the end of the tunnel with it.
Yeah.
So no, go ahead. Ask your question or talk through.
No, I was going to say, I think we're going to talk about what that means here in a second. Because I think we both have our theory on what a collapse of the hobby looks like. And I've talked about it in debt videos. You and I have talked about it in our kind of our financial advice videos. Like, be smart, buy things with cash. Don't extend yourself in this hobby.
Yep.
And I think the data now is starting to show. I mean, what did you see from PSA? How many cards did they grade last week?
Yeah. So if you don't follow him, Retro Hoop Collectibles is his YouTube channel, and he does a weekly PSA update of where they are in terms of how many cards they're grading, what it looks like in terms of their current backlog, kind of when they expect to be finished based on the pace that they are on. And last week alone, this was his video from a couple days ago, 185,000 cards were graded by PSA, of which a lion's share of those are, and that's across all sports, by the way, including TCG's trading card game, Pokemon, Magic, etc. But 185,000 cards, most of which are basketball. And you can probably list the 10 names, Ty, that comprises most of those cards that are being submitted. The hot rookies from the last 2, 3, 4 years, probably prisms and optics and all that kind of stuff that's getting sent in. And what does that tell you? What does that mean? And I don't know. Are we getting into that now, or do you want to get into it later?
No, let's get into it in a second. I think, yeah. I mean, for instance, right, Zion Williamson is about ready to eclipse the 20,000 PSA 10 mark for his prism rookie, not silver. Like, just let's let that set in for a second. You're talking about the top guy. Oh, tough to get a box of cards that costs $1,000 now, plus 1,000 plus. And there's 20,000 of them in PSA 10 gem mint versions. So there's obviously BGS, there's SGC, all these others. There's tens of thousands of that premier rookie card in gem mint form floating around the hobby right now. Right now. And to put in perspective, 185,000 cards come back from PSA or get graded this week. And all of the eBay universe, if you do a PSA keyword search and just search for the number of PSA cards sold in the last week across sports and every grade, 105,000. That's the running average over the last 6 months, 105,000 a week. And we're turning 185,000 right now.
Yeah. So let me do quick math for everybody out there. That's called running at a deficit. That means you're putting out more than you can sell. And what does that do in basic supply and demand? If you took economics at all in high school or college, that's not good for prices. That means the supply is far outstripping the demand. And you're going to see a literal, not just figurative, literal collapse of prices as this tsunami of plastic sweeps over the cardboard community across the hobby landscape. Hey, that was a pretty good metaphor there, wasn't it?
I was going to say, I think that might have to go with our title, The Tsunami of Plastic.
The tsunami of slabbage. That's what it is. Tsunami of slabbage is here. It's not just maybe, oh, it might come down the road. It's here, and it's going to keep going for months and months. Because I think I've said this in another video. PSA is not going to be caught up and really reopening to all services till March or April of 2022. I still believe that. I think they're going to keep these super high levels of pricing to keep people from sending in Zion Williamson base Prism cards, because it's not worth it. It's not worth doing it. But right now there's all this backlog, and think about the guys that have all these cards at PSA currently. And what's your mindset if you're one of those guys that has a lot of these cards sitting at PSA and you're going, crap, I really don't want these cards back because it's not even worth the cost of grading anymore. I'm literally going to lose money the minute I get them back as prices continue to fall and fall and fall, higher supply. Then what's PSA going to do? What's going to happen? Let's say I'm a guy, right, Ty, and I have all these cards.
I hope you are a guy.
I'm a guy, but I'm a guy with all these cards at PSA, and I have stuff that's PC for me at PSA, that's a key thing. I'm not flipping my cards. So I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it to grade them, to get them back, to put in the dark abyss that they're going to stay forever. But you're a guy that wants to flip. You did it to make money. You did it to profit from it to some degree in whatever fashion that looks. And you have 200 cards at PSA, and your credit card is on file. You don't get charged that money, right, until the cards are graded. So you've got, let's say, a $4,000 grading bill hanging out there that you're only going to have, I'll just use this number, $2,000 worth of cards when you get them back based on current values and soon to be values as things continue to slide. You're going to go, you know what? I'm going to cancel that credit card.
You can keep the cards.
And you guys keep the cards. That's right. You know what? And they can't come. What are they going to do? Ban you from grading? You're already screwed anyway. So you're like, okay, I don't care. The ramifications of that are like, especially these newbies into the hobby, because they don't have a lifetime invested into the hobby. They have a very short period of time invested in the hobby, and it's easy to dismiss it when it's not as ingrained in your DNA like it is for me or you or other collectors that are out there. And so they're just like, screw it, I'm going to cancel my card. PSA, good luck. You can keep them. Like, they're just basically writing off the whole thing. And at least I can get them back and get half my money back. I'm telling you, people aren't going to want to mess with it. It's a lot of work to get half your money back. That does, there are times probably they're like, nope, I'll just life lesson learned there. Do you agree with that? Does that make sense?
If anyone's been watching my videos, that's been my theory on why PSA stopped accepting submissions for the last 6 months. I've been saying that is why I think they did it, because they realized the risk they were carrying if they continue to accept these. And the interesting thing, we already know they bought Golden, right? So there's maybe an outlet for them to start selling these. Hypothetical, I get it. But you think about some guy who submits 100 cards and 95 of them are base that are worth nothing, or second year cards that are worth, nothing. They're not even worth the cost of grading at that point. But there's 4 or 5 cards in there that are maybe pretty good. Maybe there's a nice Justin Herbert silver or something that's teetering on like a relatively good card. He's got to accept the whole order if he wants that thing back, right? There's going to be some good cards out there that people are going to forfeit because they just don't want to foot the immediate debt.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a lot of money yet to be collected from the hobby for PSA to collect this money. And is it out there? Is that money out there? Because think about it. If you're a flipper, you're like, well, when that order comes due in a few months, I'll have made so much money on all these other cards that I'm flipping now and then that I'll have plenty of money to pay for that. Right. So the debt, you could see the amount of debt in the hobby go up quite a bit if there isn't that money that's been generated from flipping to be able to pay for these submissions that have yet to be paid for, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Which leads me to the National. You want to talk about the National?
Well, so real quick,
go ahead.
Just to wrap up the point on kind of the data, the general data. an interesting stat, and anyone can go find this. If you go do Terapeak searches inside your eBay account, you can find this type of data. But July and August of last year, a little over 35% of the PSA cards listed across the eBay universe were selling. 35% of them. So that was a pretty good clip, right? That's about a normal clip in the sports card world. The last 60 days on eBay, it's below 15% of cards. And it just goes to show, right? There's so much supply out there that people are having a hard time selling. I mean, 15% of the cards listed are selling. That's a crazy stat. That means 85% of them are not selling.
Right.
And there's another 185,000 coming this week and next week and the week after. I'm telling you, man, like Bishop's story and the debt that was driving all of this is going to be what pulls the rug out from prices. We think it was bad the last 60 days with 40% drops. I think it's going to be unbelievable. But anyway, to your national point, you're going to say what? The Nationals are going to show us.
Yeah, the Nationals will show it because the rug is being pulled out. Right now, you can see it starting. You can see the hobby grabbing onto the rug and getting ready to pull. And I think the National is going to be this watershed moment for the hobby, incredibly defining. You said when we were talking earlier off air, it might be the most defining moment for the hobby that will last the next decade. And I tend to agree with that. I think it's going to be an absolute liquidation event. That's what I coined when we were talking. I was thinking this is going to be a liquidation event. And so my question to you then for discussion is that what you think the National is going to look like? And how does that manifest itself literally at the National?